Are the Miami Hurricanes going to be able to flip this SEC committed quarterback in the class of 2024?
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I am Alex Donno, your host. I'm a University of Miami alumnus, longtime South Florida sports radio vet, and contributor to allhurricanes.com. And thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen today. We are available free wherever you get your podcasts and available free on YouTube. So, multiple outlets, including Rivals, Canes Insight, 24/7, have been chatting about this over the last couple of days, that Miami could be ramping up their efforts to possibly flip class of 2024 LSU committed four-star quarterback Colin Hurley. Now, I have had the privilege of watching Mr. Hurley, who's actually very young for class of 2024 because he reclassified to finish high school a year early. I've watched him throw in person on multiple occasions. I've been able to meet the young man, and he has rare arm talent. I remember watching him heading into his 9th grade season at a Paradise camp at Miami, throwing among quarterbacks that were older and physically larger than him, and his arm was far and away the best at that camp that I saw. So he's got a cannon, he's got rare arm talent, and he grew up a Miami fan. With that said, with the digging that I've been able to do on the Colin Hurley situation, it does seem like it's a long shot, and he does very much like LSU. So I think a lot of factors would have to break in Miami's direction for them to be able to flip Hurley and pull him into that class of 2024. And you guys know that I really love the quarterback, and Miami would take two in this scenario. They wouldn't show anybody the door. They would take two if Hurley wanted to come. But I really love Judd Anderson, who's already committed at quarterback. So this is one of the many topics we're going to get into today. And what is being billed, I think correctly, as a mega show. This is a comic book somebody needs to write, because we've got Chalupa Batman and Hoodie Girl on with us. Let me first say hello to Hoodie Girl, because it's been longer since you've been on the program, and you are wearing a hoodie today. How are you?
I'm good. A little early as usual, but for whatever reason, Donno keeps making me get up early to be on these shows.
I take care of my business in the afternoon, okay? I like to get things. I'm a morning person. Melissa works late night, so I begged her to wake up early today. And I know Chalupa, even though he's an hour behind us over in Texas, he always seems to be up pretty early. How are you, Chalupa Batman?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm always up early on Saturdays. It's always fun when it's a Locked On Saturday, but this is the Avengers Assembled episode of Locked On, so it's even more fun. I am ecstatic to be here, man.
And we are going to be answering some of you guys' questions, because on our subtext community, you guys have asked us some questions you want me and Chalupa and Hoodie to toss around today. And the first of those relates to what I mentioned with Colin Hurley. Okay. Now, I also want to say this. I don't think Miami is actively saying we've got to get a second quarterback in this class. I think it would only be if the right situation arises. Like if Colin Hurley wanted to flip to Miami, they would be willing to make that happen. But we get this question from Big Canes fan who says, do you think the uptick in Hurley buzz will affect the commitment of the ambassador, Judd Anderson? Chalupa, you are like the Judd Anderson whisperer, so I want to start with you on that one.
So I don't think so at all. I think it's a good question, though, because, us as a fan base, we've come to love Judd. He's our guy. He's the ambassador of our class, positive young man. He's shown us that he's got those leadership traits on and off the field. So, we love our guy. And it is in no way any slight towards Judd, any of the hype or buzz that's picking up for Hurley. If Hurley was to flip, it would be a 2-quarterback class. It'll be something where they want to bring in 2, just because when TVD leaves next year, we're down to just 2 scholarship quarterbacks. So that's more so to fill out the room and to have more competition. Like you said, Hurley grew up a Miami fan, so there is that, but he is committed, and seems like he's a bit locked in there. So there's some work to do if we want to flip him, but he's got crazy arm talent. He's one of those quarterbacks that does those Mahomes kind of things with his arm, where he can drop his arm down, sidearm, and not lose accuracy, power, delivery, anything. He's really impressive. But to answer the question, no, that doesn't affect Judd at all. I would imagine Dawson would just want to bring in 2 guys to fill out the room and have them compete against each other. They're also slightly different in what they do. Judd's a bigger guy, larger frame, a bit longer. Hurley's a bit more of a smaller, stocky guy. So they are different. They've got different builds, different play styles. They both fit the offense really well, though. So I don't think it's a one or the other situation. Again, you want competition in the quarterback room, so I think it'll just help the team if you bring in a guy like Hurley. I'm sure Judd is embracing the idea of competition as well. That kid loves it. So you get 2 kids like that in at the program, it changes the room for the future when they're competing and they're, iron sharpens iron, just like Mirabal likes to say.
What do you think, Hoodie Girl? Do you think there, could potentially be a 2 quarterback class this coming year?
I was sort of under the assumption that we were going to have a 2 quarterback class because we were aiming towards that last season. And then we know what happened with he who should not be named that went to Arizona State. But honestly, even if we were to get a 2nd quarterback, I don't think anything's going to nudge Judd out of our class. From what I've seen from interviews from him and his social media presence, this kid bleeds orange and green. He's not going anywhere regardless.
So another thing, next one I wanted to get into is a little bit off the beaten path compared to recruiting, but there's been, obviously a lot of buzz about conference realignment. You see what's happening with Pac-12. You see the Big Ten. According to reports, the Big Ten might be interested in adding 4 more, even after adding USC and UCLA, whereas the SEC, they seem to be done expanding for right now after Texas and Oklahoma. They seem to kind of want to take a deep breath, where the Big Ten could still be looking to expand even more. And, one of the prerequisites of joining the Big Ten is having this AAU designation as a research institution. They require that for entry into their conference. Now, not every AAU school is in the Big Ten. That's worth noting. There are obviously exceptions there, but every Big Ten school has been in the AAU at the time that they joined the conference. So we get this question from Darren. He says, what do you think about Miami and Notre Dame just getting AAU status so they can go to the Big Ten? And so, Melissa, first of all, this is obviously more of an academic thing than it is an athletic thing. But if you read between the lines, it could be a clue. Is the Big Ten, is that somewhere you'd like to see Miami go? Or are you a fan of keeping the ACC together? Or maybe it's SEC or bust for you?
I'm a fan of us leaving the ACC for sure. Do I like the Big Ten? Yeah, I think we were a better fit in the SEC just as far as location and weather and kind of rivalries, because you would assume that FSU would also go with us to the SEC, and then we'd have Florida, Miami, and FSU. But I don't think this can be considered a coincidence, the timing of us joining the AAU, especially with Notre Dame doing it too.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of having to play at Wisconsin in November. But I would prefer that move over sticking around in the ACC. But my preference would definitely be the SEC.
And Chalupa, that they would do that to Miami, right? That it would be because instead it's hey, we could play in California in November. No. You're going to Wisconsin. You're going to Minnesota. You're going to Michigan.
That's going to be it's going to be a 4-game stretch of for some reason you're throwing Colorado in there as a non-conference game too, just so we could freeze up there. I think it would be the style of football, I think, would be good for us. Styles make fights, right? The Big Ten is known for a smash mouth style of football. Miami's known for speed. I think that could make for some fun matchups. However, it's going to be hard for them boys to transition to the cold. But the really interesting thing about the conference realignment is when people talk about it, or even when I get tweets, it's all football related.
Yeah.
So my question for both of you and for Melissa is, does it excite you on the basketball side of it? Because when we think about moving to the SEC or moving to the Big Ten, we all go football first. We go, do we want to play in the snow? Do we want to play Wisconsin? But no one thinks about the rest of the athletic programs that also have to move too. You know, is the Big Ten a fit when it comes to basketball as well?
I'll let Melissa tackle that one because you are the basketball aficionado on the show right now.
I think it would be a good fit for basketball for the Big Ten. I don't know about baseball. I think SEC would definitely be a better fit in baseball. But basketball wise, I could see us fitting in quite well in the Big Ten or in the SEC. That's the only thing about leaving the ACC that kind of would sadden me is some of the basketball rivalries with Duke and UNC and stuff. But I'm kind of over not getting those calls from the refs when we're playing all these North Carolina schools and always having to play tournaments in North Carolina. Like the ACC baseball championship, we basically played 3 road games because we had to play Wake Forest, NC State, and Duke. I'm just like, the North Carolina bias in the ACC is ridiculous. But basketball wise, it'd be fun to have some new rivalries in the Big Ten and the SEC. I think it would work pretty good for basketball in either conference.
Got a couple of recruiting updates on the visits that are going on this weekend and whether or not Miami is done in the transfer portal. We have a lot more to tackle. This is one of my favorite shows we've ever done. We got Chalupa Batman and Hoodie Girl with us at the same time. We're only getting started. Keep it locked to Locked On Canes. Guys, I hope you're keeping it locked to FanDuel. I know the Miami Heat didn't cover in game 1, but we got game 2. They're big underdogs again at plus 8.5. So we'll see how that one plays out. But you want to make a fast break to FanDuel during the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup Finals because right now, new customers can get a no-sweat first bet up to $2,500. That's $2,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. You have nothing to lose in that first bet. They have great promotions every day. The app is safe and secure, and you can get paid instantly. There is no better place to bet all the finals action than America's #1 sportsbook. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get a no-sweat first bet up to $2,500. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen today, even on a Saturday. And if you want to take your everydayer experience to the next level, I include the link in the show description below. If you want to join our exclusive SMS texting service through Subtext, I give you guys text updates right from my phone to yours every single day with show previews and notes, recruiting scoops. Obviously during fall camp and during the season, we'll have a lot of on-field updates for you guys as well. We have a nice community on there, one-on-ones. You can chat with me one-on-one. Join our exclusive Subtext community with the link included below. We have Chalupa Batman and the great Hoodie Girl on with us today. So we get this question from Troy, who says, hey, are we done in the transfer portal this year except for replacing Terry Roberts? Any grad transfers we are looking to add this year? So Miami has a junior college transfer cornerback on campus this weekend. And I don't know, Chalupa, what do you think? Because I feel like that's probably pretty much the last thing Miami is looking to do here is fill the spot that Terry Roberts is leaving. And I think they're probably closing their portal.
I think so too. I think we assumed maybe an offensive lineman. There was one that we thought was maybe high on their radar, but it looks like he's trying to maybe come in 2024 instead of 23. It's I think his name is Amari Wiggins.
Yes, Wiggins.
Yeah, really, really good offensive lineman from JUCO, and I know they were high on him, but he's not coming in this cycle. So it looks like it's just the JUCO corner, Demetrius Freeney.
Yep.
Freeney, yes, he's on campus this weekend. Really, really solid corner. He actually used to play quarterback, and he went to JUCO. Yeah, he wasn't a kid. It wasn't a grades thing. It was a thing where he felt like he just needed a little bit more seasoning. So he went to JUCO for the year, switched over to defense, and I like his skill set. There's another JUCO corner that they were looking at, but it doesn't look like they're pushing hard for him anymore. So I don't know if we're going to see much action on the transfer portal right now. If they land Freeney, that'll probably be the last one. I think Roberts was a bit of a shock to all of us, but it looks like they've got their depth. We added a couple guys on the defensive line. They've done wonders in the secondary. So I think right now it's just about getting the new incoming freshmen in, getting the later transfers in, getting them comfortable with the playbook. The season is right around the corner. So I don't think we're going to be doing a lot of roster changes. Maybe you see an announcement for for the JUCO corner, but I think it's full steam ahead for the 2024 class now. Their eyes are focused on that. There's a ton of good recruits there this weekend, so I think that's what they're focused on now.
Yeah, Hoodie Girl, I think that Chalupa hit it on the head there with what he was saying at the end, that they've got the offseason program in full swing right now, and they did want to have players enrolled by, a lot of them are enrolled for summer A, which is happening right now, and then there's a few stragglers that are coming in for summer B a little bit later this summer. So it's like they've got a nice system going, and they already have a top 10 transfer class in the country, Hoodie Girl. So they may not want to screw with it a little bit too much at this point.
Yeah, I think the focus for the summer is going to be building that next class for next year coming in. So most of the transfer portal stuff I've been following has been in basketball.
Yes, and we're going to get into that. And you know what? Why don't we get into that now, since we're already in the topic of transfer portal? I saw one of my colleagues, Lefty Liam, who was at the baseball game last night. He said he was sitting right by Matthew Cleveland, the Florida State who came into Miami.
Matthew Cleveland was there. I saw it on his Instagram. I was like, dang it, the one game I'm not going to be at this weekend. And Matthew, I don't know if you guys follow him on Instagram or Twitter, but the Kings Hoops page posted it too. They did like this little funny skit where he was like in the men's locker room by himself. And then they were like, "What are you doing here?" And he was like, "I'm ready to get to work. Where is everybody?" And he's like looking around.
I'm watching that the second we get up here.
I gotta watch that too. That's great. So how do you feel about so far what Coach L has done in recruiting and transfer portal? How good do you think the team is going to be next year?
I think we're definitely going to make another tournament run. I think we're another piece or two away from really kind of solidifying the roster. There's been a lot of Miami's name has been brought up in a lot of like high-end transfer portal players that were, going somewhere else. And we landed Matthew Cleveland. Right now we're trending towards the Rutgers combo guard, Cam Spencer. He visited here last weekend, and then it looks like he's also going to visit UCLA, UConn, and Oklahoma. I don't know how Oklahoma got in that mix, quite honestly.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I'm hoping we add another big man for depth. But I like the addition of Cleveland, and I think some of our freshmen from last year are going to take on a bigger role. And I think you'll probably see me in Phoenix for the Final Four next year.
Yes. Well, and I hope to be able to make it out there and join you two in the Final Four. So how was it that, and Chalupa is in Texas, but, Hoodie Girl, you traveled to Texas for the Final Four. How was it the two of you were at the same event? You didn't even run into each other.
It's even weird. Here's what's even crazier is we were on opposite sides in the same section, but on opposite sides. So like if there was a possibility for me to be accurate, I could have like thrown a tennis ball perfectly across the arena and she could have caught it. And I actually almost bought seats in that section. It's weird that we didn't get to meet up. It was a really crazy day. Really but
we knew we were both going.
And my first Canes basketball game ever too.
Ooh.
Yeah. Again, thanks to you guys. It's because of the show that you guys had on Locked On. I think it was a little bit before the ACC tournament. You guys did a full breakdown on here.
When I pitched we're going to be in the Final Four like in mid-February.
Yep. And I was like, you know what? Let me, I think I'm going to tune in. And then you guys on the timeline gave me anxiety one day when I think we may have been playing Duke or someone. And I was like, okay, I got to watch this game. If I'm going to be invested on the timeline, I might as well watch it. And then 3 weeks later, I've got like 3 jerseys. I'm watching Omer highlights and tweeting Nigel Pack. It was a great basketball season, but it was fun to watch a team play that hard and to see the passion from people like Hoodie Girl, from Donno, from people who are Canes Hoops fans for years. And, I've been waiting for something like this. It was really, really awesome to see.
And hopefully
wait till you follow them for a whole season and you become really, really invested.
Yeah. I know he's going to be like, I know Chalupa's personality. He is going to be from, their first game in early November, whatever it is, he's going to be going crazy. I know this guy's going to be all in.
I'm going to be pirating practice, watching practice from someone else's phone who sends me videos.
You'll end up like me after we won our Elite Eight game, like literally just like sprawled out on my living room floor, tearing up, calling my mom, like so happy that we made the Final Four, and she's just thinking that I'm like absolutely crazy.
I lost my voice. I lost my voice at the Final Four. I had zero voice after it. I don't think I've lost my voice in years, but I lost my voice at that game. I was sitting around a bunch of not Miami fans too, so that was fun. Yeah. I was the only Miami fan in my section.
Well, I was sitting with a few of my friends, but we had some FAU fans behind us, and then a few rows down there were some UConn fans that were being very obnoxious, but I tried to ignore them.
Yeah, I was surrounded by nothing but UConn fans, and they were actually okay with my screaming and constant jumping and yelling. And even like when we had the shoe situation, like one of them was like, "Hey, are you wearing Adidas? You could throw them your Adidas." And I was like, "Well, they're Pumas, and I'm not Judd Anderson. I can't make this throw from here."
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Nosebleeds.
I was way up there.
Well, we have 6 official visits that are in progress right now at the U. I want to talk about what we're hearing and what the outlook is at this point. So some big-time players on campus, and the next week's going to be even bigger. This is going to crescendo into the June 9th weekend. It's going to be like recruiting Armageddon. There's going to be so many great players on campus. So keep it locked right here to Locked On Canes. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen today. We are available free wherever you get your podcasts and available free on YouTube. And for the everydayers, we're going to be talking more about conference expansion, conference realignment. Raymond Borg is going to join us on tomorrow's episode for a special Sunday show. So in recruiting, we have on campus now, we mentioned Demetrius Freeney, the JUCO cornerback, who could be the guy Miami is looking to kind of immediately fill the Terry Roberts Jr. spot as he transferred in January and is transferring out now in June. Based on what Gabby Urrutia was saying on Demetrius, the visit is going well, but a recruitment probably isn't imminent for him. He wants to go through the process a little bit more. We've got a 3-star edge rusher out of Minnesota, Wyatt Gilmore, who the staff really likes, is visiting right now. 4-star linebacker who the staff freaking loves, James Nesta, is on campus right now. The feedback from him is very good, that the visit is going well. And this is someone that Derek Nicholson and Lance Guidry really want to land in that linebacking core. 6'4", 210 pounds. He's the 31st ranked linebacker in the country. Drelon Miller and Tank Hawkins, a couple of receivers, are visiting. Tank from IMG Academy, Drelon Miller out of Stillsby, Texas. Yeah, it really is, right?
Yeah.
And Melissa, I will point out that Miami's offensive coordinator, Shannon Dawson, has a great history with slot receivers named Tank, because Tank Dell, who he coached at Houston, was setting records left and right with the Houston Cougars. So he wants him another Tank. Drelon Miller is someone that we love and Judd Anderson really loves. So hopefully Miami can land him. And then the biggest fish who's on campus this weekend is 5-star defensive lineman Kamarion Franklin out of Cormorant, Mississippi. He actually just dropped his top 5, I think, yesterday. And no surprise, Miami made that top 5 along with Tennessee, Auburn, Ole Miss, and Florida State. Strongly believe, based on the conversations I've had, that it's a Tennessee versus Miami battle for Kamarion Franklin. And for Tennessee, it might kind of matter on their pending penalties and probation. That might be a factor in where he ends up deciding to go. But Miami and Tennessee are probably the top 2 there. Here's what Kamarion Franklin said to 24/7. He said this to the Grim Reaper, Steve Wiltfong, about Miami. He said, what he likes about Miami, just the people and the coaches. Everyone is genuine, from the staff, people around it, everybody. He said, They all do a good job recruiting. Show me how much of a priority I am. Coach Cristobal, we've had good talks. He recruits me well. We have a good relationship too. So I firmly believe, Chalupa, that defensive line, I think at the end of the day, whether it's some mix of Kamarion Franklin, Aiden Breland, Justin Scott, David Stone, that's not even that's just interior guys. There's a bunch of edges who are in play as well. I think defensive line is going to be the highlight of this class, the way that offensive line was last year.
I think so too. I think if there are the big fish that everyone they keep asking, when are we going to land? It's the defensive line guys. It's David Stone. It's T.A. Cunningham. It's Elijah Rushing, Dylan Stewart, Big Cam, Kamarion Franklin. Probably one of my favorites. That young man is impressive. Like, that is a grown man in an 18-year-old kid's body. He seems to really, really love Miami. Like Donno said, it's a bit of an orange battle for him right now. It's us versus that other weird shade of orange. But he seems to be very high on Miami. Another guy that loves Coach Jason Taylor. He can't say enough good things. He's been on campus 3 or 4 times. He's there again this weekend. Anytime any buzz gets started on his Twitter, he always shouts Miami out. He's always asking, is Miami home? So, there is that love there for the school. Another one that grew up a bit of a fan of the U. He's one of those game changers for the program. Every Tuesday, we hear it on Locked On from Bruce. These guys are game changers. It's not just filling a spot. It's not just getting depth. When you get a guy like Dylan Stewart or Kamarion Franklin, those are guys that change your program, because then other guys want to come in. Oh, you guys signed Big Cam? I want to play with him. What the hell? Heck yeah, I want to play safety on that defense because it's way easier for me now. You got David Stone and Ruben Bain and Cyrus Moss and Kamarion Franklin. Yeah, I'll play on the back end of that secondary. So then you start to see some of the more talented corners want to come in for visits because they see the defensive linemen that are coming in. You see safeties that want to come in for visits that may be committed elsewhere because somebody like Franklin is giving Miami the time of the day, and it makes a defensive back go, well, I want to play with that guy. It makes a linebacker like Nesta go, oh, if they sign a guy like Franklin, I can play freely out here at linebacker because he's going to eat up blocks. There's a bit of a ripple effect when you sign a big blue chip guy like Franklin. So we've all got our fingers crossed. Big Cam is a monster, and I'm hoping we land him.
Yeah, and Hoodie Girl, the common denominator with every one of these defensive line recruits is Jason Taylor is putting in the work on all of them. And I want to give credit as well to Big Joe Salavea because he's the primary recruiter for a lot of these guys. But JT makes a huge difference. And Hoodie Girl, JT, if this cycle goes the way I think it might go for the defensive line, Jason Taylor could be in line for National Recruiter of the Year after this cycle.
I mean, Jason Taylor's resume speaks for himself, just, what he did with the Dolphins, but such a massive move to get him on the staff and then keep him on the staff with all the rumors circulating that the Dolphins were trying to get him. But I have to say, between Jason Taylor and then Jamil Adey, those two guys, between Jason Taylor's reputation and then what Jamil has done as far as getting Tyreek and DJ drafted in the NFL draft, yeah. I think a lot of people underestimate Jamil and Coach Adey, and that secondary room I think is just going to be fire for years to come with what he's doing, and then especially with Cam, easily could be back-to-back All-American, and players are going to see that and be like, I want to play for this coach, what he's doing with these players and putting them into the league. If you would have told me DJ Ivey was going to get drafted in the NFL draft at the beginning of the season, I would have thought you were insane.
Right. Are you sure you didn't mean XFL draft? Maybe that one.
Well, no, it's just with the progress he made with DJ and then Tyreek going in the second round, and even some speculation could he go late first round? I mean, the jump Tyreek made and the jump that DJ made through the season, Coach Adey did some amazing things. But yeah, I think the defensive line, I agree with Chalupa, man. I think the defensive line is going to be a big focus, kind of how we did with the offensive line. I think we're going to beef up the trenches on that defensive side, and they're going to be beasts.
Before we wrap up this episode, Miami baseball took care of Maine last night, and much bigger challenge coming up tonight at 6 at the Light, Coral Gables Regional. The Canes, who are the top seed in this regional, take on number 2 seed Texas. It always, Miami versus Texas, a rich baseball history, and we get the next chapter of that tonight. Melissa, how we feeling heading into this game?
It's a fun matchup just because Miami and Texas are two of the teams up there with the most college World Series appearances. I think Texas has over 30 and Miami has over 20. I was really hoping Texas would lose last night because I liked our matchup better with Louisiana. Texas is a tough team. They have a really good 1-2 punch in their starting pitching. So hopefully our bats can get hot early. But their bats, they're kind of hot and cold. They finished their season really strong. I think they won their last 8 of 9, but then they kind of dropped a goose egg in the Big 12 tournament and lost their first 2 games to Kansas and Kansas State. So they kind of had like a very up and down end of the season. But their 1-2 punch in pitching is what worries me because we're going to get their second starter tonight. But luckily for us, Zeal last night pitched like 6 innings and we didn't have to go really deep into our bullpen. So we have a lot of arms available for tonight. I think Ligon, I can never pronounce his name. I think he's starting tonight. Yeah, he's coming off an injury. So I don't know if they're going to pitch count him or what. But I could see maybe Walters pitching 2 innings to close it out, depending on what the score is. But we have a lot more pitching available tonight. So I'm a little bit more confident after seeing what we did yesterday that I think we can pull it off. And I know the last 2 years we've lost that second game in the series. And that makes it harder when you have to play in the losers bracket. Yeah. And we don't have the pitching for that. We need to keep winning to stay out of having to play those extra games.
That's well said. And before we run, I want to give everybody a chance to plug their work. Hoodie Girl will stay with you because I got to tell you, I really enjoy the Buckets pod that you and my guy Vish do as part of the Six Ring Cane show. And obviously I'm a part of that network in different capacities. So I support everything on there. So tell us about Buckets and when people can watch the next one.
So Buckets is an extension of Six Ring Canes. If any of y'all have watched Six Ring Canes in the past with Vish and Blue and Jazz and DJ, they have their football show on Monday. So now we're doing a Buckets pod, which is just strictly cane soup. It's men's and women's cane soups. We actually had Coach Meyer on the show a few weeks ago. Yeah. We don't have a set night every week, a set day, because I work nights. And so we kind of have to like schedule it around when I'm off. But our next show is going to be Wednesday night at 9, and we actually have a former Canes Hoops player coming on. I call him a legend, but if any of you followed our 2012-2013 Sweet 16 run when we double dipped the ACC, he was a very important player on that squad. I won't name drop because I want y'all to watch the show. Okay. So he's going to be on. And then the week after that, we're actually planning to do like a Canes Hoop all-time draft where me, Vish, and Matt draft a starting lineup like a snake draft, our starting lineup that we would want to play, like if we were doing like a fantasy league or something. So we're working on doing that the following week, and we're working on a few other former players trying to get on the show, but we're going to have somebody on Wednesday night. So y'all going to want to check that out.
That's awesome. And Chalupa, I see this guy almost too much because I think I see Chalupa more than I see. I spend more time talking to you than my own wife sometimes. We work together at allhurricanes.com, and Chalupa is also part of the awesome You Heard podcast, and Ben and Joe are great friends as well. Let people know where they can find all your stuff.
So yeah, you can check me out on You Heard Pod. Episodes drop every Monday and Thursday. We like to drop them first thing in the morning, so they're there for your ride in. It's fun Canes chat. They make fun of me for not drinking water and all these kinds of things. By the way, shout out to the You Heard guys. I am drinking Starbucks, and there's a second. I'm going to get hammered for this.
I was going to assume that was beer down there, Hoodie Girl, because
I was going to ask.
It's a beer glass.
They
mentioned it on Buckets, actually, so I figured it was because on the Buckets pod, they mentioned that she usually has apple juice, and I was like, okay, this is the thing. So You Heard, check me out on You Heard. Absolutely fun podcast, man. We have a lot of fun on there. Shout out to Ben and Joe. All Hurricanes. Check Donno out on All Hurricanes as well. Always has the scoop. Articles are really great. Lefty was live tweeting from the baseball game yesterday, posting videos and live updates. So make sure you follow All Hurricanes. Obviously, Brian Smith is on there as well. The guru of recruiting, as I like to call him.
He's all over the place.
That guy Brian is the man. And check out Locked On. You guys know I'm always here in the chat. My absolute favorite podcast. Don't just say that because I'm on. Whether I'm on or not, I'm in the live chat. Shout out to the live chat. Love you guys.
Yeah, what up, live chat? That I'm never in because you all air too early.
But then when she does come in, it's like, yo, Hoodie Girl's here.
Yeah, she's like everyone's so excited to see her when she's in because it's like a once every 2 week kind of thing, and you're like a celebrity who pops in.
I busted in the Coop live chat for 2 seconds at work last night. People were like, "Hoodie Girl."
Awesome.
I was like, y'all need to get in the live chat when I'm streaming on Six Ring Canes. Come on now. By the way,
you guys do that. It's a really fun podcast, and they're live. So when you're in their live chat too, they respond to you as they're doing the show. It's a lot of fun.
And I put it out on the Buckets show the other night. I'm going to be at the Canes baseball game tonight. And I told people that were watching, I was like, the first person that comes up to me and says, "Hey, I watched the Buckets pod, I will buy you a milkshake."
Yo, let's go.
If you come up to me and say, "Hey, I watched the Buckets pod," or "I'm gonna watch it this week," the first person to do that is a free milkshake on me, whichever one you want.
Yo,
do it.
That is a hot tip for tonight. So
how fast can I get to Miami from Texas?
It depends on are you teleporting or are you driving or flying?
Chalupa, if you come down to Miami, you need to bring me some Papacitos.
Oh no, I can bring you better barbecue than that.
No, that's Tex-Mex. Papacitos is Tex-Mex.
That's Papados that we have our bar. Oh, there's better
Papacitos and Chewy's. Those are my places.
Really?
Love it. I'm half Texan.
Man.
I'm half from Texas, so.
Have you tried the taco trucks here?
Me and Chalupa talk Dallas Cowboys when the NFL season starts.
Oh yeah, that's another thing.
That's my team.
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
Maybe we'll do an NFL special during the season coming up. Huge thank you to Chalupa Batman. Huge thank you to Hoodie Girl. Guys, if you've enjoyed this episode, if you're an audio listener, please leave us a 5-star rating and review. If you're a video viewer on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow on another episode of Locked On Canes, part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.